On a distant planet named Elysia, colorful buildings touched the bright blue sky. The streets were usually full of laughter and joy, with aliens of all shapes and sizes enjoying their peaceful lives. But today the air felt heavy with fear. War was coming. The people of Elysia were in a panic. They had heard rumors of a powerful enemy approaching, a force that could destroy their beautiful planet. As the alarms rang out, families rushed to gather their belongings. Spaceships hovered above the city, ready to evacuate the citizens to safety. In the midst of this chaos was a young alien girl named Lyra. She had bright green skin, large purple eyes, and hair that shimmered like silver in the sunlight. Lyra was special. She had unique powers that allowed her to connect with the world around her. She could sense emotions and even communicate with animals. But in this moment of panic, her powers felt more like a curse than a gift. Lyra's parents were worried. They knew that her abilities made her different, and they feared what would happen to her in a world full of danger. As the chaos unfolded, they told her to stay close. "We'll protect you, Lyra," her mother promised, gripping her hand tightly. But as the evacuation began, the city filled with screaming voices and rushing bodies. Everyone was trying to escape, and in the madness, Lyra was separated from her family. She looked around, searching for her mother and father, but they were gone. The crowds pushed her aside, and she stumbled into a dark alley, alone and scared. Lyra felt her heart race. She wanted to call out for her family, but the fear choked her voice. She had always been shy, and now the thought of being lost in the world was terrifying. With tears in her eyes, she crouched down and wrapped her arms around her knees. "Why did they leave me?" she thought, feeling abandoned. The sounds of the city grew faint, replaced by the eerie silence of the alley. She was all alone. As the minutes passed, Lyra knew she had to act. The war was real, and if she stayed in the alley, she might never see her family again. Taking a deep breath, she stood up and peeked out. The streets were empty, and the bright lights of the city seemed dimmer without the laughter and joy that once filled them. With her heart pounding, Lyra stepped out of the alley. She decided to head toward the place where she had last seen her family. Maybe they were looking for her. Maybe she could find them if she was brave enough to search. She walked slowly, keeping her senses alert. Using her powers, she tried to feel the emotions of those around her. But all she felt was fear and sadness. She was frightened herself but pushed on, determined to find her family. As she made her way through the empty streets, Lyra noticed the destruction left behind. Beautiful gardens were trampled, and colorful banners hung loosely, torn by the wind. The once vibrant city felt like a ghost town. Suddenly, she heard a low growl behind her. Lyra turned and saw a creature lurking in the shadows. It was large and fierce, with sharp teeth glinting in the dim light. Panic surged through her, and she quickly focused her energy. "Go away!" she shouted, her voice trembling. To her surprise, a soft glow surrounded her, a protective shield created by her powers. The creature paused, startled by the light. It hesitated, then turned and fled into the darkness. Lyra sighed in relief but knew she couldn't stay here much longer. She had to find a safe place, somewhere she could hide until the chaos settled. With her heart full of hope and fear, she continued her search, determined to reunite with her family and survive this nightmare. Little did she know that help was on the way, and her journey was just beginning. As Lyra wandered through the ruins of her once vibrant city, she felt both lost and alone. The streets were eerily quiet, and every sound seemed to echo in the empty spaces around her. The sun began to set, casting long shadows that danced across the ground. She hugged her arms tightly around herself, wishing for the warmth of her family. Just as the last rays of sunlight faded, a strange noise broke the silence. It was a low hum, growing louder and closer. Lyra's heart raced with fear. She quickly ducked behind a broken wall and peeked out, her curiosity getting the better of her. To her surprise, she saw bright lights in the sky. A large ship was descending, its metallic body shining under the stars. It was unlike anything she had ever seen. The ship landed softly on the ground, and the hum faded into silence. Suddenly, the ship's door opened, and a ramp extended down to the ground. From the shadows, figures emerged. They were tall, walking on two legs and wearing strange outfits. Lyra recognized them as humans from the stories her parents had told her. They were a distant race, known for their adventurous spirit and courage. As the humans stepped out, Lyra felt a mix of excitement and fear. She had never seen humans before, and she wondered what they would think of her. Would they see her as a monster or a friend? The humans began to explore their surroundings, shining bright lights from their devices. They seemed cautious but curious. One human, a woman with short brown hair and kind eyes, noticed something moving in the shadows. She pointed her light toward Lyra's hiding spot. "Over there!" the woman shouted. "I think I saw something." Lyra's heart raced as she debated whether to run or stay hidden. But before she could decide, the humans approached her. She stepped back, trembling. "It's okay! We won't hurt you," the woman said gently, kneeling down to Lyra's level. "Are you lost?" Lyra took a deep breath and finally spoke. I'm alone. They left me." Her voice was soft, filled with sadness. The woman's expression changed to one of sympathy. "You're safe now. We're here to help." The other humans nodded in agreement, their faces softening as they listened to Lyra's story. "I'm Lyra," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I was abandoned when the war started." The humans exchanged worried glances. They understood the gravity of her situation. "We're explorers," the woman explained. "We came to see this planet, but now we can help you find safety." Lyra felt a flicker of hope ignite in her heart. These humans were kind, unlike the chaos she had witnessed. She looked around, seeing their determination and courage. "Can you help me find my family?" she asked, her eyes wide with desperation. "We will do everything we can," the woman promised. "But first, let's get you to safety. There might still be danger around." The humans formed a protective circle around Lyra and led her back to their ship. It was big and shiny, with strange buttons and screens. Inside, it was warm and bright. Lyra felt a mix of awe and comfort as she entered. The humans introduced themselves. The woman was named Sarah, and the others were Jake, a tall man with a friendly smile, and Mia, a quiet but observant girl. They quickly began to ask Lyra questions about her home and her powers. As they spoke, Lyra felt a sense of belonging. These humans were different from her own people. They listened to her and cared about her well-being. They offered her food and water, and she realized how hungry and thirsty she truly was. "Thank you," she said, gratefully accepting their kindness. "I never thought I would meet humans. You are very different." "We're not so different after all," Jake said with a smile. "We all want to survive and help each other." As they continued to talk, the ship's alarms suddenly blared. Sarah's expression shifted to concern. "We need to move! The alien forces may have spotted us!" Lyra's heart sank. She had just found new friends, and now danger was closing in again. "What should we do?" she asked, fear creeping into her voice. "Stay close to us," Mia instructed firmly. "We'll figure this out together." With renewed determination, the humans prepared for what lay ahead. Lyra felt a spark of courage within her. For the first time in a long while, she wasn't alone. She had friends, and together they would face whatever challenges came their way. Inside the ship, Lyra felt a mix of excitement and fear. The humans had welcomed her into their strange world, but now danger loomed closer. The ship's alarms echoed in her ears, a constant reminder that the threat from her home planet was very real. "Get ready!" Sarah shouted as she raced to the control panel. Her fingers moved quickly over the buttons, making the ship come alive with lights and sounds. "We need to take off now." Jake and Mia helped Lyra strap into a seat, securing her tightly. "Don't worry, we'll protect you," Jake reassured her with a confident smile. Lyra nodded, trying to believe in his words. Outside the ship, the ground trembled as heavy footsteps approached. The humans peered through the viewing windows, and Lyra's heart sank as she saw the shadows of the alien soldiers marching toward them. They were tall, muscular beings with thick armor and glowing red eyes. Lyra recognized them from her nightmares, the same soldiers who had caused chaos in her city. "They're here!" Mia exclaimed, her voice trembling with fear. "What do we do?" "Hold on tight!" Sarah shouted as she flipped switches and pulled levers. The ship's engines roared to life, and Lyra felt a jolt as they began to lift off the ground. The soldiers below shouted in anger, their voices echoing through the air. The ship ascended quickly, but the soldiers were determined. Lyra watched in horror as one of them aimed a weapon at the ship, a bright beam of energy charging in its hands. "They're going to shoot!" she screamed, her voice filled with panic. Just then, Sarah pressed a button and the ship lurched to the side, narrowly avoiding the blast. "We can't let them hit us!" she yelled. Jake, get ready to fire back. On it! Jake replied, his face focused and serious. He moved to another control panel, preparing the ship's defenses. Lyra could see his hands shaking slightly, but he hid his fear well. The soldiers below continued to fire, bright beams lighting up the night sky. One shot hit the ship, causing it to shake violently. Alarms blared, and Lyra clutched her seat, her heart pounding. "Status report!" Sarah called out, her voice steady despite the chaos. "Shields are holding, but we need to get out of here fast," Jake replied, his eyes darting to the readings on the screen. Lyra's mind raced. She remembered the stories her parents told her about the alien soldiers. They were relentless, and they wouldn't stop until they captured her. "What if they come after me?" she whispered, fear creeping back into her voice. Sarah turned to her, determination in her eyes. "They won't. Not while we're here. We're going to protect you, Lyra, no matter what." With renewed courage, Lyra nodded. She could feel the strength of her new friends, and it gave her hope. She might be a target, but she wasn't alone anymore. The ship maneuvered through the skies, dodging more blasts from the soldiers. Outside, Lyra watched as buildings crumbled and fires raged in the city below. Her heart ached for her home, but she knew they had to escape. "Hold on!" Sarah shouted as she took the ship into a steep dive, avoiding another energy beam. The ship shook and rattled, but Lyra felt a thrill rush through her. They were fighting back. "Ready to fire!" Jake announced, his voice strong. "On my mark." Lyra watched as the soldiers below reloaded their weapons, unaware of what was about to happen. "Now!" Jake shouted, and a bright blast erupted from the ship, hitting the soldiers with a powerful shock wave. The soldiers stumbled back, their formation breaking apart. Lyra felt a rush of adrenaline as she realized they were winning this battle. The humans were fierce fighters, and she admired their bravery. But the threat was far from over. More soldiers emerged from the shadows, their numbers growing by the minute. "They're not giving up!" Mia cried, her eyes wide with fear. "We need to regroup!" Sarah shouted, her voice rising above the chaos. "Lyra, do you have any powers that can help us?" Lyra took a deep breath, focusing on the energy within her. She felt a connection to the ship and the humans around her. "I can try," she said, her voice steadying. "I'll do my best." With that, she closed her eyes and reached out with her mind, trying to connect with the soldiers. The energy around her pulsed, and she felt the fear and anger of the approaching soldiers. She focused on creating a barrier, a shield that could protect her friends. As she concentrated, a bright light surrounded her, shimmering like stars. The humans watched in awe as Lyra's power grew stronger. The ship's systems responded to her energy, and the shield strengthened, glowing brightly. "Keep it up, Lyra!" Jake cheered, a smile breaking through the tension. "You're doing great!" With newfound determination, Lyra felt ready to face the threat together with her human friends. They would not back down. Together, they would fight against the darkness that threatened their lives. The atmosphere inside the ship buzzed with tension. Lyra's heart raced as she felt the power building within her. The soldiers outside continued to fire at them, their weapons lighting up the night sky. The humans worked quickly, their determination shining through the chaos. "Lyra, can you hold that shield?" Sarah asked, her voice urgent as she glanced back at the girl. "I'll try," Lyra replied, focusing on the energy surrounding her. She felt the barrier shimmer and pulse, stronger than before. It felt like an extension of herself, protecting not only her but also her new friends. As the ship swayed from another blast, Mia shouted, "We need to fight back! We can't just sit here!" "I know," Jake exclaimed, looking at the control panel. "I'll launch a counterattack, but we need to keep Lyra safe." "She's our best chance!" With determination, Jake pressed buttons on the control panel, readying the ship's weapons. "On my mark, we strike together." "Sarah, give me a countdown!" Sarah nodded, her eyes locked on the soldiers below. 3, 2, 1, fire! The ship erupted with light as Jake launched their counterattack. Energy blasts shot out toward the alien soldiers, illuminating the night. Lyra felt the shock waves as they collided, but she kept her shield strong, hoping it would protect them from any incoming fire. The soldiers below staggered as the blasts hit their ranks, but they quickly regained their footing. More soldiers arrived, a wave of armor and weapons that seemed to stretch endlessly. Lyra felt fear creeping back in. How could they fight against so many? "We need to unite!" Lyra shouted, her voice filled with urgency. "If we work together, we can push them back." Jake nodded. "Lyra is right. If we combine our strengths, we might have a chance. He looked at Sarah and Mia, determination etched on his face. We need to find a way to coordinate our attacks. Sarah took a deep breath. Okay, let's focus. Lyra, you keep that shield up and we'll strike at their weakest points. Mia, can you help control the ship's movement while I fire from the cannons? Got it, Mia replied, her fingers dancing over the controls. I'll keep us steady! As they worked together, Lyra felt the energy in the ship shift. She focused harder, drawing strength from her friends. The shield glowed brighter, protecting them from the relentless fire of the soldiers. The humans took turns attacking. Sarah fired the cannons, sending powerful blasts toward the advancing soldiers. Jake maneuvered the ship, dodging incoming shots while preparing their own counterattacks. Mia kept the ship steady, ensuring they had the best angles to strike. With each attack, Lyra felt more confident. She connected with the energy around her, feeling it pulse in rhythm with her friends' efforts. "We can do this!" she called out, her voice stronger now. Together, the soldiers below struggled against the combined force of the ship and the girls' power. Some began to retreat, their morale fading under the relentless assault. Lyra could see the change in their movements. They were losing their advantage. But just as victory seemed within reach, a massive figure emerged from the shadows. A giant alien commander stepped forward, towering over the other soldiers. His armor glinted ominously in the light, and his presence commanded fear. "This is not over, humans!" the commander bellowed, his voice echoing like thunder. "You will pay for this defiance!" Lyra felt a chill run down her spine. The commander was a powerful figure, and she could sense his anger. "He's strong," she whispered, fear gripping her heart. "We have to be careful. Stay focused, everyone!" Sarah shouted, her voice cutting through the fear. "We've come this far, and we won't back down now." The commander raised his weapon, aiming directly at the ship. "Prepare to be destroyed," he roared. "Lyra, can you amplify your shield?" Jake asked urgently. "We need more protection!" "I'll try." Lyra concentrated harder, feeling the energy surge within her. The shield expanded, shimmering with newfound strength. It pulsed brightly, a protective barrier against the incoming threat. "Now, let's show them what we're made of!" Sarah shouted, her eyes fierce. The humans launched their attacks once more, combining their efforts with Lyra's power. The battle intensified as beams of light clashed against the commander's weapon. The air crackled with energy, and the ground shook beneath them. Lyra felt the weight of their struggle, but also the strength of their unity. Together, they were not just fighting for their survival. They were uniting against a common threat, and with each blast, they pushed back against the darkness that had invaded their lives. "Keep fighting!" Lyra urged, her voice rising above the chaos. "We won't give up!" With a final surge of energy, the combined forces of humans and Lyra erupted in a brilliant display of light, charging toward the commander. It was a moment of hope, a symbol of their united strength against the threat that loomed before them. As the dust settled, Lyra opened her eyes. The battle was over, and the commander lay defeated, his massive form crumpled on the ground. The remaining soldiers, seeing their leader fall, scattered in fear, retreating into the shadows. A cheer erupted from the humans aboard the ship, echoing through the air. "We did it!" Mia shouted, her face bright with excitement. "We actually did it!" Lyra felt a rush of relief wash over her. She had never imagined that she would be part of something so powerful, so united. "Thank you, everyone," she exclaimed, tears of joy streaming down her cheeks. "You all fought so bravely." Jake smiled and patted her back. "You were amazing, Lyra. Your powers made all the difference. We couldn't have done it without you." Sarah looked out the viewing window, watching as the last of the alien soldiers disappeared into the night. "We need to make sure they don't come back. We should find a way to communicate with the other humans and warn them," she suggested, her voice steady. "Good idea," Jake replied. "We can't let them regroup. Let's find a safe place to land and assess the situation." As they prepared to leave, Lyra felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. She had just saved her new friends, but what would happen next? Would they accept her fully? Would she ever return to her home planet? The ship descended slowly, landing in a clearing surrounded by trees. The night sky twinkled with stars, and the air felt fresh and calm. Sarah, Jake, and Mia stepped out, looking around cautiously. "Let's gather some supplies and find a way to contact the other humans," Sarah said, taking charge. "Lyra, can you help us find anything useful?" Lyra nodded, eager to contribute. As they explored the area, she felt a sense of belonging growing within her. She was no longer alone. She had found friends who cared about her. "Look over here!" Mia called out, pointing to a pile of debris. They rummaged through it, discovering old tools and supplies that could help them repair the ship. "This will be helpful," Jake exclaimed, holding up a broken piece of equipment. "With some work, we can get this ship fully operational again." Lyra joined in, her heart swelling with hope. She realized that they were building something together, not just a ship, but a future. As they worked, they shared stories and laughter, forging deeper connections. Later, as the sun began to rise, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, the group gathered around a makeshift table. Lyra looked at her friends, a warm feeling spreading through her. "I never thought I would be here with all of you," she said softly. "Thank you for rescuing me and believing in me. I feel like I finally belong." Sarah smiled, her eyes shining. "You're one of us now, Lyra. We're a team, and together we can face anything." Suddenly, a low rumble echoed through the trees, drawing their attention. The sound grew louder, and Lyra's heart raced as she realized what it was. A convoy of ships was approaching, flying the colors of the humans. "Look!" Jake pointed to the sky. "Help is here!" The convoy landed nearby, and a group of humans stepped out, led by a tall man with a serious expression. "We received your distress signal," he said, looking at the group. "We heard about the attack. Are you all okay?" "We're fine, thanks to Lyra," Sarah replied, her voice filled with pride. The man's eyes widened as he looked at Lyra. "You are the alien girl we've heard about? The one who fought against the invaders?" Lyra felt a wave of shyness, but nodded. "Yes, I am." He smiled warmly. "You've shown incredible courage. We need people like you to unite our worlds. You have a bright future ahead." Lyra's heart raced. This was the opportunity she had been waiting for. "I want to help. I want to protect both worlds," she said with determination. The man nodded, his eyes filled with respect. "Then you shall. Welcome to our team, Lyra. Together we can build a new beginning." As they all stood together, Lyra felt a sense of hope blossom within her. She had found a place where she belonged, and now she was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The threat from her past was gone, but new adventures awaited. With her friends by her side, Lyra looked toward the horizon, ready to embrace her new life. Together, they would forge a brighter future, one filled with unity, strength, and endless possibilities.